Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of WWE NXT's Halloween Havoc premium live event. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. Much appreciation to you all. Let's go ahead and get started with the recap. We opened up the show with Javon Evans and Leon Slater, the TNA X Division champion, going up against Mr. Iguana and Parka, not the WCW Parka, a new Parka. This was NXT and TNA together versus AAA. Something I did not predict 3 or 4 years ago would happen. It was a fun opening match. I will say this, it's not everybody's cup of tea, especially Mr. Iguana. He had the puppet, which he used several times during the match as a weapon. I guess because it's a puppet, it's not considered a disqualification, but he definitely used it to his advantage throughout the match. This was a mix of high-flying moves with some comedy. It served its purpose as an opening match. It was fun for what it was, but I know some people are not into that stuff with the puppet. I'll tell you this, my father-in-law, he was watching this, and after a couple of minutes, he just gave up. He is not into Mr. Iguana whatsoever. It was a competitive match between both teams. Everybody looked good. Everybody got in their moves. And for the finish, Evans and Slater were able to get Iguana out of the ring, and Slater pinned Parka with a Swanton 450 splash, got the 1-2-3 victory, and it looks like Javon and Slater will be going for the NXT tag team titles at some point. Next up, we had Ethan Page, the North American champion, against El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. in a Day of the Death match, or Day of the Dead match, which was basically just a no-holds-barred match with weapons. Just a fancy way of calling it a no-holds-barred match. I will say I would have liked to have seen some different types of props for this match. If you're doing a Day of the Dead match, try to use some things associated with Mexican culture. Instead, we got the usual steel chairs and trash cans. I was impressed with the set. They did have some tombstones, and it kind of resembled the old WCW Halloween Havoc pay-per-views. I still think they should bust out the huge pumpkin. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen some different weapons used in this one. Ethan Page did have half his face painted, which is Day of the Dead, and people also associate it with Thunder Rosa. She uses the Day of the Dead makeup. Match was good. Ethan Page did dominate a good portion of it, but then he made the mistake of ripping at the mask of Wagner. And when he did that, it lit a fire under Wagner's ass, and he went to town on Ethan Page. And he even did this coast-to-coast drop kick. He set a trash can up in the corner when Page was there, and then he went to the other side, did the drop kick, probably the highlight of the match. Hopefully he didn't get injured doing a coast-to-coast like Seth Rollins did. And then Page was able to gain the upper hand. He put Wagner through a trash can with the ego's edge, but then Wagner got back into it. He did a moonsault. Page kicked out of that, and then Wagner set up a table in the ring, and he was going to try to put Page through it, but Page threw powder in the eyes of Wagner and then won the match with an avalanche twisted grin through the table. Pretty good match here. Ethan Page retains. Shout out to Caleb Jacobs, who sent in a $2.71 super chat. Thank you for that, Caleb. He says, I love Ethan Page in NXT. I love the belt design. It's a very old school vibe, that title. Ethan Page is doing well. He continues to build up momentum in the NXT brand. And it was another fun match. So I did enjoy this one. Next up, we had Zaria defending the Women's North American Championship on behalf of Sol Ruca against Blake Monroe, formerly Mariah May, in AEW. Sol Ruca was out there. She had a brace on her leg. She had the crutch, whatever you want to call it. But she was out there for the moral support, which in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we're getting some kind of shenanigans here, and Sol Ruca is going to end up being involved in this. Pretty good match here with the two of them. You had Blake targeting Zaria's arm during the match, and Zaria's shoulder got messed up. And at one point, they did something interesting. So they were on the outside, and Sol Ruca actually pushed Zaria into the ring post. And people were freaking out. Was this a turn or something? But actually, what Sol was doing was popping the shoulder of Zaria back into place. That was interesting. And Zaria had a second wind at this point, a new lease on life. And she took out Blake with a spear after Blake was going to try and use her hair pick as a weapon. Then they were on the outside of the ring, and Blake accidentally bumped into Sol, but the announcers were very suspicious of this, thinking that it was intentional. And when Zaria was checking on Sol, that's when Blake took advantage, gave her the glamour shot DDT on the floor. She got her back in the ring and hit another glamour shot in the ring, pinned her to become the new Women's North American Champion. So this went about as I expected it to go. Zaria defends Sol's title and then loses it, and Blake Monroe's the new champion. And that might set up a future split between Sol Ruca and Zaria. Good match here. I like the angle. They definitely have an interesting storyline here with Zaria and Sol Ruca. Who knows what's going on with Sol's injury? No real word on what's going on. But it was a pretty solid match, and I'm all for Blake being the new champion. Next match was Jacy Jayne with Fatal Influence versus Tatum Paxley with the Culling, which is Sean Spears' faction. And this was for the NXT Women's Championship. Jacy, the defending champion. Back and forth match here. And Jacy actually used the ring skirt to gain an advantage. That's the old Fit Finley trick. And she also used that steel part of the ring and launched Tatum into it. And Tatum was able to fight back. And then after Jacy hit Tatum with the avalanche neck breaker, Sean Spears placed Tatum's foot on the rope, and then a fight broke out between all of the faction members, and the referee ended up kicking out everybody from the ringside area. And then Jacy and Tatum exchanged near falls, and Tatum delivered a 450 splash. Jacy kicked out of that. And so much for the referee kicking them out, because when both women were down, the Culling showed back up, and then Izzy Dame grabbed the NXT title, and it looked like maybe she was hitting or aiming for Tatum, but she actually did hit Jacy with the title, and then Tatum pinned Jacy with the cemetery drive, got the 1-2-3 victory, and is the new NXT Women's Champion. This surprised me. This was the one match result I was not expecting. Maybe this is the end of Jacy Jayne in NXT. I guess we'll see. Tatum with the biggest win of her career, no doubt, becoming the new women's champion. I'm not really sure who is the heel or who is the face. I thought Fatal Attraction were heels, but you had Shawn Spears putting the foot on the rope. I don't watch NXT on a weekly basis, so not really sure what's up with that. But another good match here on the show. New champion, another title change. And then we had the Broken Rules match, which, again, like the other match from earlier with Ethan Page, essentially another fancy term for a no-holds-barred match. We had Matt and Jeff Hardy versus DarkState, which is 4 guys, but the 2 guys in the match were Dion Lennox and Osiris Griffin. I don't really find DarkState that interesting. To me, they're like a knockoff of Retribution, and it feels like 4 guys that are just thrown together in a group, and they're hoping something will click with these guys. But to me, none of them really stand out. They're all very generic. And all of them were getting involved in the match. It was basically 4-on-2, but it was one of those annoying things where 2 of the guys stood on the outside of the ring, got in the ring, and then went back to the outside again. Why not just keep going at it 4-on-2 if there's no DQ and you can get away with it? So that was kind of weird. And the Hardys, despite being outnumbered, managed to gain the upper hand. They were using steel chairs, and then tables were set up. They had Jeff's custom tables with his artwork, and the Hardys climbed these ladders and put the other 2 DarkState members through the tables, and it basically killed those guys. It eliminated them from the match. Like, they were out for the duration of the match. So yeah, just those moves, putting those guys through the tables, basically killed them. I would have preferred if just somebody came out there, like 2 of the baby faces came out there and helped out the Hardys to even the odds, rather than doing it this way, because it was a little bit goofy and over the top. But whatever. The 2 guys in the match, Lennox and Griffin, did take advantage of this, and they got the upper hand for a while. Then the Hardys regained the advantage, and the tide turned in the match when tables were set up on the outside, and Jeff Hardy climbed one of the ladders, and he went for the Swanton Bomb, but Lennox was able to – actually, I think it was Griffin. Yeah, Griffin was on the table, and he rolled off the table. Jeff crashed and burned with the Swanton attempt, and then DarkState double-teamed Matt Hardy. They got Jeff back in the ring, and then another table was set up in the ring, and the ladder that was on the outside, you had Lennox climbing that ladder, and Griffin hoisted up Jeff for the Doomsday device, and Griffin jumped from the ladder into the ring for the Doomsday device, putting Jeff through the table. They pinned Jeff 1, 2, 3 to capture the tag team titles. It was a fun match, but I get it. I understand that, you got to push the new guys, yada, 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 but DarkState just isn't doing it for me. I would have rather seen like Javon Evans and Leon Slater win the titles from the Hardys or something like that. DarkState, meh. I'm not really into them. These guys badly need more character development, and in the ring they're fine, but they just don't stand out to me. So we do have another title change, 3rd title change in a row on this show, and the Hardys are still the TNA Tag Team Champions. So this might be the last we see of them in WWE for a while, but I expect them back, the Hall of Fame and all that. It's just a matter of time. Then we had our main event of the evening, Ricky Saints versus Trick Williams for the NXT Men's Championship. Booker T was very much into Trick, as he usually is, and really that's the one good thing about Booker T's commentary. I have to say I'm not a big fan of Booker T on commentary for the most part. He just kind of annoys me, but he's great for Trick's entrance. I mean, that's definitely the best thing that he brings to the table. So Trick Williams went right after Ricky, and They brawled on the outside a little bit, and Trick got him back in the ring, did the blockbuster. Saints kicked out of it. And then Saints eventually made a comeback. He put on a crossface submission. Trick got to the bottom rope and then slipped to the outside, and he grabbed the NXT title. Saints went after him, but then Trick got the advantage again, and he put Saints through the announce table with the bookend. It kind of didn't look that good. The table basically collapsed before Saints made contact with it. And then Trick got him back in the ring, and he hit the trick shot, but Saints kicked out of it. And then they went back and forth for a little bit, traded some near falls, but then Saints hit the spear, followed by his finisher, which is the Tornado DDT. And he got the 1-2-3 victory to retain his championship. And no surprise ending or anything. I thought maybe we'd get a run in or somebody showing up. I think back to the old Black and Gold, and we get some sort of a surprise at the end. But the last thing on the actual show was a backstage promo from Tatum Paxley hyping up Tuesday. It was okay. But yeah, I felt like we needed a more memorable ending to the show. They did give Ricky a big win. He beat Obafemi. He beat Trick Williams. So they're really giving Ricky Saints the ball here. And as Jerry in the chat pointed out, they're putting the stamp on Ricky Starks. So is this it for Trick Williams? I mean, Obafemi's gone now, and now Trick Williams loses. Could those guys be the next ones to be called up? Maybe in time for the Royal Rumble, maybe sooner. I guess we'll have to wait and see. So all in all, I thought Halloween Havoc was pretty solid. I don't think it was a must-see show by any means. I think the matches were consistently good, but there was no one match on this show that I would even put in contention for match of the year. Nothing that I would really remember 6 months from now. Even the Hardy's boy match, it was a lot of what we've seen. Just the Hardys older and can't move as fast as they used to. They're not as good as they once was, but they're as good once as they ever will be. That type of deal. So I'm leaning between a 6 and a 7, maybe a 6.5, but I don't do the middle, so I'll round it up. I'll give them 7 out of 10. It was pretty solid. City by the Bay wants to know who the best commentator in wrestling is right now. Well, Pat McAfee's not around, so I guess I can't say him. I'd probably go with Michael Cole. I think Michael Cole does a great job. So it would be Cole and then Corey Graves. And after that, maybe Wade Barrett and then Joe Tessitore would be 4th. And then if we're counting AEW, I guess Bryan Danielson would be number 5 if I had to do my top 5. Definitely not Excalibur. Definitely not Vic Joseph. Definitely not Tony Schiavone at this point. So there you go. All right, that was Halloween Havoc. It was a very enjoyable show for what it was. Not must see, but pretty good show. Not a waste of time by any means. DarkState, I got to see more out of them before I can really put a stamp of approval on them. But Ricky Saints is doing well. And Javon Evans, definitely a lot of potential there. I wish he was in a higher profile position, just doing the opening comedy match. Maybe they'll win the tag team titles at some point. We'll see what happens. Anyways, guys, stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest news and rumors. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will be back Monday night after Raw with a recap of the show. Stay tuned for that. Tell a friend about NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. You can check out NoDQ with the QR code upper right corner. Say yes to NoDQ, and I will see you all next time.